Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and this is the first video in a new series called Faction Factory, where the host of the episode plays the role of faction designer. This video will be about the superheroes and what Smash Up can do to revisit them in the future. By now you've hopefully realized that I love superheroes and I will never tire of this genre. But before I begin, I'd like to take a moment to express my disappointment that the supervillains did not make the final cut of the Oops expansion. Thank you, Internet. This is exactly why democracy doesn't work. Samurai? Really? I'm more upset about the supervillains than my own faction Killer Bunnies not even being listed at all. Nevertheless, I often wondered what the supervillains would look like, and it got me thinking critically about the structure of the superheroes. Unlike most factions, I don't think we're done here, and I'm going to be presenting a crazy, perhaps heretical idea as to what we can do next. One of my favorite TV shows ever was Justice League Unlimited, which had different groups of superheroes working together each episode. I also play a lot of AEG games besides Smash Up, such as Lost Legacy. Lost Legacy and Guildhall and games like it are modular and follow templates that allow you to customize the cards of the game without changing the core rules, similar to what Smash Up does by switching out factions. When I combined these two inspirations, I had an idea. What if the same principle could be applied within a faction? I think superheroes make an excellent pilot faction for this thought experiment. What if there were multiple Power 5 minions you could recruit for superheroes, and you choose 4 of them at the start of the game? This obviously breaks the golden rules of pre-construction, but consider it for a moment. I think back on why I like superhero princesses so much, and obviously it comes down to how many options you have for the mild-mannered citizen. Imagine the replayability when you have a rotating cast of superheroes. It would enhance the drafting nature of Smash Up and add a new dimension to constructing some combinations by allowing you to customize further before the game even begins. This is also incredibly thematic, as the Justice League and Avengers have fluid, rotating lineups throughout their history. There are obvious nods to the Justice Society and Golden Age of superheroes in the original team, so perhaps we need a Silver Age or a Modern Age team. I'd even take a New 52. However, this would only work if we follow a few ground rules, which we can derive by looking at the current superhero deck. The first rule is that there could only be 4 Power 5 superheroes, which is a given. They must also be in relative proximity to one another in order to maintain the faction's balance. This can also be where we get our inspiration. When you look at the current superheroes, they not only mimic common superpowers, but they also appear to be lesser power variants of other king minions. For the most part, each superhero approximates a different king minion without being as powerful as the original, although there are some exceptions. Let's look at the examples. Awesome Guy spotlights the ability of invulnerability and is a lesser form of General Ivan with respect to the fact that he himself can be destroyed. The Burst has the ability of super speed like the Flash and approximates the effect of the Pirate King. Captain Amazing has the power of super strength and is a close approximation of Starlight. I actually like Captain Amazing better because I personally prefer power activation and she generates 1 more total power, but having the power at all time has its uses as well. Finally, Mind Lady has the ability of telepathy, which manifests in the form of power dampening. There isn't a direct comparable for another king minion, but she does mimic the action My Only Weakness, which we could also use as a template. Using the same principles, what abilities come to mind? Depending on the morality of the abilities, these minions can be part of a new superhero team or a future supervillain faction. A common superpower is regeneration, and we could use the Cardinal of the Clerics as an archetype. Maybe it's a single random card that goes into your hand. Maybe the ability is limited to a specific card type, like minions or actions only. Perhaps this minion should be the minion form of Golden Age, 1 minion at a time, activated as a talent. Heat Vision, Optic Blasts, or other forms of energy blasts are a common power as well. And maybe this superhero isn't as pure, or maybe it's a supervillain. I think there's room for a superhero-style minion between Apricot and Blaster Master for a destructive superhero. Precognition could manifest itself in the form of a spy ability or the Space Knight. It would be useful to look through your deck and know what cards are coming, perhaps even the base deck. The Burst has super speed, but maybe a general movement card in the form of Flight can be useful. This Falcon knockoff could perhaps move to a base where you have another minion. A minion similar to Multiple Man of the X-Men could have cloning abilities that can create multiple copies of a minion of power 2 or less, acting similar to Sidekick. It'd be great to see an ability like Elasticity, like Plastic or Elongated Man. This can inspire a superhero with multiple abilities where you have a choice, similar to Titania of the Fairies. It's not a superhero show without the obligatory time travel, and time travel can let you reactivate a minion's ability or replay some aspect of the effect, such as using a talent twice. Persuasion and Manipulation are common supervillain abilities, i.e. Poison Ivy, and I could foresee a lesser version of Queen Fluffy, either affecting only minions on the same base or minions of power 2 or less. I would love to see a Necromancy supervillain that acts like Zombie Lord but cancels the ability of the minion, leaving it as a lifeless creature. An intangible superhero such as Martian Manhunter could not be the target of effects, which would be very interesting for single destruction cards. This minion doesn't have a comparable minion, but then again, neither did Mind Lady. There is a wealth of superpowers just begging to be manifested in the form of king minions, and Smash Up has barely scratched the surface of them. The interesting part of the superhero actions is how well they would serve this new purpose. Since they are mostly about resurrection and retrieval to provide continued utility for the mild-mannered citizens and the superheroes themselves, regardless of what they do, you don't lose much synergy by swapping out the superheroes themselves. Justice Friends still has the same number of targets of power 5 or more. The one card that stands out is My Only Weakness, but it's useful enough that it still has a place in the new superhero team. To create this new team, you only need to create new superheroes whose value is closely in line with the other pre-existing minions, and you'd have Smash Up's first customizable deck. While I wouldn't recommend this for every faction, I would love to see this with superheroes, and I think they are a natural fit for this experiment. Would Smash Up ever consider doing something like this? Probably not, but it's fun to dream. If you sleeve your cards, which I don't, but might for this specific purpose, you could create your own custom superhero cards and swap out some from game to game. We saw factions retroactively changed in the form of Titans, so maybe a reskinning is not out of the question. I could easily see princesses get the same treatment, and the pattern of the All-Stars can definitely happen again, but with a new theme behind them. How do you think intra-faction customization would affect Smash Up? Is it an idea that we need to explore further, or should I be burned alive for my Smash Up heresy? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this installment of Faction Factory. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.